All right, let's dive right into one of the biggest, most persistent debates out there: creation versus evolution. You know the one. It's always framed as this epic battle between faith and science. But what if I told you that this entire conflict, this whole fight, might just be based on a huge misunderstanding? I mean, for so many of us, this feels like you have to pick a side, right? It's like you're forced to draw a line in the sand. You're either on team faith or you're on team science. And for a lot of believers, it can feel like this ultimate test of your faith. And honestly, from the outside looking in, it can seem like a point of ridicule. And yeah, this is the picture we all know. You've got creation in one corner and evolution in the other. It's set up to be a total showdown. But the whole idea we're going to unpack today is that this right here is exactly where we go off the rails. Okay, so let's completely redefine this thing. The main idea we're digging into is that this whole versus setup isn't just, not helpful, it's completely wrong. It's built on a faulty foundation. We've been asking the wrong question from the very start. So, here's the absolute heart of the argument. Pitting creation against evolution is what's called a category error. Basically, it means we're comparing two things that don't even belong in the same category. Think about it like this. If I asked you, what built this car? Was it Henry Ford or was it the assembly line? You'd look at me funny, right? Because one is the person, the agent, and the other is the process. They're not fighting each other. They're two different parts of the same story. And this just nails the point perfectly. See, creation is all about the who. It's a belief about the agent, the one behind it all. It answers the question, who made this? Evolution, on the other hand, is a scientific theory about the how. It's all about the mechanism, the process. It's trying to answer, how did this happen? Who versus how? They're not even in the same ballpark. They're asking completely different questions. So, if that's true, then the real debate, the actual choice, isn't creation versus evolution at all. From a faith perspective, the real contrast is between creation and an atheistic origin. The choice is really this: do you believe there's a purposeful creator behind everything? Or do you believe it all just happened? An unguided, random, cosmic accident? That's the real head-to-head. Okay, so let's follow that thought. If a person of faith says, yes, God is the creator, what does that leave for the how? Where does science fit in? Well, let's explore that, because we can actually break this down into three key questions. Now, this table really lays it out. Look, for each of these huge questions, where did the universe come from? Where did life itself start? How did all the different species develop? A Christian can have different views on the process. You've got view A, which is a direct, supernatural kind of poof creation. But then you have view B, which sees things like the Big Bang or evolution not as an alternative to God, but as the tool or the method God used. The big takeaway here is that the core belief, God created, is like a giant umbrella, and all these different ideas about the how can fit underneath it. And that really is the crucial point here. The essential, non-negotiable part of the faith is affirming that God is the creator. The nitty-gritty details of how he did it, whether it was in 6 literal days or through brilliant natural processes over billions of years, well, that's considered a secondary, non-essential issue. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This is where we have to talk about the elephant in the room, right? What about Genesis? What about the Bible? I mean, it seems to lay it all out pretty clearly. 6 days, step by step. What do we do with that? Well, let's try to shift our focus for just a second. What if we ask this? What is the main point of the Genesis story? Is it really about the nuts and bolts of the 6-day timeline? Or is it about the absolutely profound, earth-shattering statement that God created? Where's the real punchline of the story? The argument is that Genesis 1 was never, ever intended to be read like a science textbook. Its central message is theological. It's this incredible, powerful poem that declares a fundamental truth, that God brings order and purpose and light out of chaos and darkness. It's all about the who and the why, not the how. And to get our heads around this, let's look at how the Bible talks about its most important theme, salvation. I mean, think about all the metaphors the Bible uses to describe what Jesus did. He's called the Passover lamb. He's compared to the bronze serpent in the desert. He's the cornerstone. His resurrection is even hinted at with Jonah's 3 days inside the great fish. So, let me ask you this. Do we believe Jesus was literally a sheep or a snake? Of course not. We all understand that these are powerful metaphors that point to a much deeper truth. So here's the kicker. If we're totally comfortable with using metaphors for the absolute central event of the entire Christian faith, why is it so hard to imagine that the creation story might also use beautiful, symbolic language to teach us a profound truth about who God is? The key here is that metaphorical does not mean untrue. Okay, I get it. Accepting this way of thinking isn't easy. It brings up some really tough, really fair questions. So let's not shy away from them. Let's tackle the three biggest challenges that pop up when you try to bring faith and science together on this. And this is a big one. You hear it all the time. Okay, if you say Genesis is a metaphor, then what's stopping you from saying the resurrection of Jesus is a metaphor too? Isn't that a really slippery slope to just explaining everything away? Well, the key difference is in how the stories are told. Genesis 1 reads like a majestic ancient poem. But the resurrection accounts, they're written like historical reports. They're grounded in the claims of hundreds of named eyewitnesses who said, "We saw him, we ate with him, we touched his wounds." It's a completely different kind of writing, making a completely different kind of claim. All right, challenge number 2. This one's tough. If evolution is the how, that means there was death and struggle and, well, animal suffering for millions of years before any humans showed up. So how on earth do we square that with the Bible saying that death only came into the world because of Adam's sin? This is where we have to be super careful about what we mean by the word death, because biblically, the most important kind of death isn't when your heart stops beating. It's spiritual death, being separated from God, who is the source of all life. Biological death in plants and animals, that seems to be part of the natural cycle. I mean, even Jesus said a seed has to fall to the ground and die to produce new life. The spiritual death that came from sin, that's a whole different ballgame. And that brings us to the final boss, Adam. If humans evolved, what does that do to the story of Adam and Eve? And what about the whole idea of original sin? I mean, that's pretty foundational stuff. So the argument goes like this. The fall was a real historical event. It was that moment in time when humanity became truly human, with self-awareness, a conscience, and a real moral choice, and then chose to turn away from God. Now, whether Adam was one literal guy or a representative group of early humans, the core truth doesn't change one bit. Humanity sinned, and that choice had massive consequences. So, after all of that, after reframing the whole debate and tackling some really hard questions, where does that leave us? What's the bottom line? What are the core bedrock truths that don't change no matter what you think about the process of creation? It's these 4 things right here. This is the bedrock. 1, creation. God made it all. 2, the fall. Humanity messed up. 3, redemption. Jesus came to save us. And 4, restoration. One day, God's going to make everything new again. These 4 pillars of the faith stand tall and strong, completely independent of how you read the first chapter of Genesis. And that really leaves us with one last big question to chew on. When we get into these debates about creation, what are we really trying to defend? Is it a particular interpretation of a 24-hour day? Or is it the absolutely staggering, magnificent, life-changing truth that there is a good and powerful creator behind it all who made you and loves you? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this one.